What a beautiful, beautiful, perfect day here in sunny Southern California. Good morning, Crow. And good morning to all of you. I'm going to try to shoot the video. Say good morning to Louie. What's up, Louie? Good morning, buddy. I know. You're hungry. Get your breakfast. 1 second. All right, everybody. We are going to go to a car meet today, but I'm going to try for probably the third consecutive time to shoot the video to share with you all what happened to me in 2007, 2008 in the last crash. And as I alluded to in my last video, where 99% of you were amazingly positive, but there's always one or two complete utter clowns that have to say stupid things. Don't even know if I'll address those. I think we're headed towards a definite reset and something that I need to be right about this time around, and that means making prudent and wise decisions, unlike I did in 2005 and 6 leading up to the 07 crash. So let's jump in the car. We're going to take the Lamborghini today because hopefully my buddies are bringing theirs, and then we'll talk about it in the car on the way. Maybe I'll even show you some cars at the end after I feed this cat. Let's go. I'll get you your food. Come on. Come on, Louie. Let's go. Morning, buddy. There you go. Yep. You're happy. There you go, buddy. You have a good day. Let's go. We got you. I'm gonna put you on hold for just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. Cold start at like 7 a.m. Oh, I'm sorry, neighbors. Oh, I'm not sorry, neighbors. Oh, that thing is so loud. When it starts up, it quiets down. Then it gets loud again. Good morning, Superwoman! You never stop working, huh?
Nice car. What's the blue one?
I sold the blue one. I know. Yeah, I got another. I got a white one now. I know, it's a miracle I'm still married after all these cars. It's all good. I love the cars. Thanks. See you. Have a good day. About owning a Lamborghini is when you stomp on it, it sounds glorious. Listen to that. V10, woo! But it doesn't come with cup holders, so I end up having Coke all over me on the way to Cars and Coffee. So it looks like I peed myself on the way there. Pretty awesome. I got to clean this up. Everybody, let's start off with a word that I did not know the definition to. I didn't go to college. Frankly, nobody has in my family, so learning the big words is something I have never done. Of being around people who know big words, I've learned them. And a gentleman shared with me this word. It was hubris. And hubris, he says, was my downfall in 2007. And it took me a while to accept that, because that was a critique on who I am as a man. And at the time, it was absolutely counter to hubris. And the definition of hubris is excessive pride or self-confidence. The challenge with that is if you have excessive, the keyword being excessive, pride or self-confidence, then no one can tell you otherwise because you have excessive pride and self-confidence. So you end up blowing yourself off the planet like I did because nobody could tell me what I should be doing. Nobody could tell me back then that I was making mistakes. I had believed that I had arrived. I remember in 2004, I was making so much money. I reached a place to where, and I'm gonna tell you, I can tell you this number, I think I made close to $700,000 between houses I flipped and salary and bonuses and investments. Everything was just clicking. And mind you, in 2004, I was like 34 years old. So that's young to be making that kind of money. I had a stable of cars, a fleet, if you will, and nobody could tell me that I was making any mistakes and living, well, without my means and irresponsibly. I had easily $250,000 in liquid cash and $500,000 in equity in my house. And I remember being with my fiance at the time, who I'm not with, and everything works out for a very good reason. But at the time, I thought she was the one, and we were staying in a hotel in San Diego, and I remember telling her that, listen, I've got to go to the bar. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I've got to go to the bar, and I've got to contemplate my genius. I've got to jot down all the amazing thoughts that I have, because literally everything I've done has led to this place of me being a wild success against every odd in my family. My dad being a very humble and very respectable plumber. This was not something that was in the cards for my family for me to be making this kind of money and hold an executive position at a good-sized company. It just didn't make any sense. So I needed to go to the bar and jot down all of my thoughts because I needed to write a book. I needed to create a website. I needed to sell, back then, CDs and DVDs because people needed to hear how brilliant I was and become as brilliant. I needed to share that stuff because I had arrived. And I went to the bar and I ordered it was about a $30 martini with blue cheese olives. It was beautiful. I sat at this beautiful dark wood bar and bartender in a tuxedo at this fancy hotel and told him how brilliant I was. I'm exaggerating slightly, but pretty much told him how brilliant I was. And I started to write on a napkin all the things that I've accomplished and I need to be teaching other people and sharing out there because I was so incredibly brilliant. I finished up my martini, went back to bed, crawled into bed. She leaned over, kissed me on the cheek and said, "I love you." And I said, "I love me too." And we went to sleep. That's a slight exaggeration on reality. I had reached a place to where I thought I had arrived. I had everything. I came from a family without a lot of money and had almost what I felt was an unlimited amount of money. I was unscrewable. We used to use the word uneffable, that when you get a certain amount of money, certain amount of equity, certain amount of assets, that nothing could get you. And that was wrong. I was wildly wrong because by 2007, I'm sitting in a different bar, flat broke, wearing a Rolex that I needed to sell with a AMG Mercedes with a $1,900 car payment sitting in my in the parking lot, and I'm drinking a dollar drink with the cheapest vodka I could find and thinking that I'm the biggest dumb idiot in the whole world. Why would anybody listen to me? I can't believe anybody would listen to such an idiot considering I was losing everything. My equity had evaporated almost overnight in 07 and 08, just instantly gone, just like $500,000 just poof, gone. It happened in a matter of 6 months. My investments, well, those crashed, so those are worth less than the original investment, and frankly, my liquidity disappeared. My cash, I did exhaust it because I believed when it first started that I could outride this thing, I could outlast it, and no, I couldn't because I was running at close to $20,000 a month in expenses, and when my income got cut in half, even though I was still making more money than I had ever made as a young man or my dad ever made, it was still not enough to cover those bills. So, long story short, I went down hard. Fiance left me. I don't blame her. I didn't have hubris. I I had excessive self-confidence, which made me, frankly, an a-hole. And I never want to be that person again, and I will never be that person again. But I started giving things back, and slowly but surely. Sold my 64 Cadillac and made a little bit of money on that car, so I was like, okay, that'll get me through another month of negative. I'll ride this thing out. Had an $8,500 house payment, and it was ugly. It was getting bad. Finally, I'm sitting with 3 older dudes. One of them, who's an absolute great friend of mine and mentor, and he says, Brad, I'm in trouble right now. I'm gonna have to walk from one of my vacation property, his only vacation property. I'm like, wait a minute, you're rich. You're like 65 years old, and I'm 35. How in the hell are you in trouble? Like, you've arrived, you've got it all, you figured it out, dude. This economy can't get you. He goes, no, man, it's getting me bad right now. He goes, everything, his 401k, everything. Oops, that was stupid. Sorry. Everything went down, and I'm like, holy crap. He goes, no, I've got to walk from this thing. And now my tenants aren't paying, because he was renting it out at the time too. He goes, they're not paying, and I don't need the vacation property anymore, so I got to dump it. Problem is I'm $400,000 upside down. So he's going to short sale it or foreclose it. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're rich. You're the dude that tells me how to get rich. This makes no sense. I went home that night and made the decision that I had to stop making stupid decisions. I had to start making better decisions, and I had to tuck it in. I had to not walk from that house, but sell that house. So I short sold the house. I sold all the cars that I could sell. One car I had to keep because the credit was going bad, and I had to keep that car. But it was $1,900 a month, which was horrible. To have to muscle through that thing, to not be able to get groceries without borrowing money on a card or calling my parents at that age and having them front me $1,000 to get through the month. It was absolutely painful, and it got worse. So right around, what was it? Geez, 2006. Around 2006, when things started to show signs of ugliness, and I started to get a little worried. I got a letter in the mail from the IRS saying, we're auditing you. And my IRS rep said, and we're probably going to audit you for 3 years, which we can do if we see inaccuracies. So I'm like, geez. I called my tax guy, and he's like, I can't help you. I just got indicted. I'm like, oh my God, I trust another old guy who gave me advice, who told me that it would all be okay, and he's got the perfect way to do taxes to save money. And I was a young guy and stupid, and I believed him. So wham, that ended up burying me to the tune of over $300,000 in taxes, and that's catastrophic when you think about it. So the house drops in $500,000. I had $1 million in net assets completely evaporate or go upside down in literally like 12 months. I mean, it felt like shorter. Maybe it was 18 months, but I mean, it happened. And I remember going to the bank one day to get some cash out, and it wouldn't give me any money. I was like, what in the hell? But I still had my American Express cards. I went and had cigars with that rich guy one night, and on the way home, or my American Express worked at the cigar place, and then I went to McDonald's to get a cheeseburger combo, and it got declined. And I was like, well, you want my Rolex? I mean, I got nothing. I guess I'm gonna go home and eat. And I went home and looked at American Express, started whacking my limits beneath what I owed them. So now I have $134,000 in credit card debt, and I had no clue, no real clue, because I was spending $10,000 a month on credit cards. So bottom line is, it started getting bad. And then, because my fiance left me, I started dating a lot of girls, and kind of drowned in my sorrows. And I still had the house, still kind of looked cool. And one of them, who was smoking hot and incredibly fun, but crazy as freaking hell, like clinically insane, lock her up in a padded room because she's insane. The most free spirit of a human being I've ever known in my life, and a pastor's daughter. And yep, folks, I got the call. We broke up 6 weeks later, and she says, and I'm literally still hurting, but still thinking about buying cars, because I figured I could still kind of get through it. And I was headed to the Bentley dealership to buy a Continental GT, and that was going to be like $2,500 a month in payment. And I get a call, I'm driving the Range Rover, and I'm got a call headed to the Bentley dealer, and she goes, we'd been broken up for like 6 weeks, and she goes, we need to talk. And there's something, men and women, you just got to know in our ears that we know exactly what that means. When you say we need to talk, we know exactly what that means. And it's like something, a little hairs in your ear vibrate a certain way. You know, oh, you're pregnant. I can't believe it, like 35, 36 years old, and the market's starting to crash. I'm still kind of confident, but now I'm getting audited. Kind of figured that out of my head, that I'd figure out a way through that. And this girl's pregnant that I'm not even with, and she's fat as crazy. What in the hell? So I met her for dinner, and we had a conversation, and we decided to try and rekindle the relationship. And it turns out, under different circumstances of responsibility and maturity, we started spending time together, and we fell in love, and for the right reasons, and we're still together this day, everybody. That is my wife, and she's still crazy as hell and needs to be locked in a room sometimes with padding on it, but man, I wouldn't have it any other way. She is incredible, literally walks on water, literally 1 in a million, 1 in a billion, despite the fact that she chased me through the city in her dad's Pontiac, smoking the brakes, and I'm running from her in my AMG when we were dating. She was just insane. And to this day, I wouldn't have it any other way. I need crazy in my life. Crazy is awesome, and crazy girls are a blast. And I'm kind of not crazy, so we balance each other out. So that happened. But we ended up staying together, and we had our child, and I'm going through all this stuff. And I'll tell you, through that period, there were times when I was not sure I was going to be able to take care of the family. And I get it that this is such a hard thing for people to understand or even respect, because there were people that were hurting way worse than I was hurting, to the extent that I had 2 men that I knew take their own lives because they didn't know how to get through their time. They were in the mortgage business, and they took their own lives, and they had kids and families. And my assistant, her husband, I don't know if it was an accident or on purpose, but he ended up suddenly taking his own life. And I realized I need to man up here. I need to go out and stop, because that's not, like, none of us need to be thinking like that. I certainly considered it, because I didn't know if there was a way out, and that hubris was really getting to me, that how can I not be a delicate genius anymore, but I'm going to take my own life. And I finally woke up one day after these other people did it, and I thought, man, that ain't worth it. That ain't worth it. So I started traveling our 10 offices with about 100 people per office, and I started doing office meetings with everybody in the room, and straight up telling them all, I'm losing it all. I'm going down in flames. I am not the guy that, you know, I've been the last few years. I've made some critical mistakes. I lost my mind, and frankly, hubris has taken me down. And now I'm in front of you all to admit that I'm human, just like you all, and that we can get through this. It's only money, nothing more. As long as you have your health, your family, you can get through this. This is just a blip in the screen, and we're going to get through it. I'm going to get through it. And I shared with them in depth what I was going through. So anybody who thought theirs was bad, I was like, yeah, well, mine's pretty bad too. House is in foreclosure. Came home one night, and there was a whole big notice of default list sheet taped to the fence, and my neighbor's standing outside watering his lawn, of course. These $1 million houses that dropped to $600,000, and he's out there, Roy, and he's out there watering his lawn at like 7 o'clock at night. I'm like, Roy's never, well, he's got sprinklers. The only reason Roy's out there is he knows I'm going down. Roy's like 70 and nosy, reports us to the HOA all the time for all of our cars being parked all over the place. And Roy goes, everything okay? And I'm like, shut up, Roy. I tore the notice of default off and went in the house. I remember laying on the floor one day after fishing on a Sunday, and this guy comes walking in my door. I had my front door open, and I had a little foyer, little gate area, and this dude comes walking right into my foyer inside of my house, because the door was wide open, letting the air just run through, because it lived on a lake. And I'm like, whoa. Well, back then, you know, we had firearms everywhere, And I reached, grabbed the 357, and I pointed at him. I said, "Get out of my house," and he was serving me papers. And of course, after he changed his shorts, he said, "Hey man, this ain't personal, I just gotta give it to you." And I'm like, "Who's suing me?" "Well, the association's suing me, because the association deals with me." I mean, folks, it just kept getting worse. Like, no matter how smart I thought I was, it just kept getting worse, over and over again. And I'll tell you, yes, it sounds stupid that I would be complaining about still making good money, but not having enough to cover the bills, because it's all perspective. If you make $50,000 a year and you have 100,000 expenses, you got a problem. If you were making $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year, and you've got $1 million in expenses, and you think you're worth $2 million, and it all goes away, and suddenly you're back to making, $150,000. You're screwed, man, and it's hard because you're screwed on a highly public level. I had one of my top salespeople come to my office one day and say, "Hey, I think it's really embarrassing that our top executive, our vice president of the company, is in foreclosure." And I said, "You need to get out of my office. You need to just go. You think I care what you all think?" And that was the time when I finally, I think, woke up and realized that, man, anybody could be hit by these recessions. And I'll tell you, some of these folks that comment that are like, I had a few of them in this last video, that for me backing out of the jailbreak, that said, well, you're just afraid, admit it. Hell yeah, I'm afraid. I'm terrified. My wife jokes around that I have become a bit of a miser, even though I think I have balance, because I have this Lamborghini and I buy things and I make sure we have fun and we go on trips and we go shopping sprees and we do some really cool things. So a miser wouldn't do that stuff. But I am not putting myself in the debt that I was in back then. I remember getting sued by American Express and 2 other credit card companies, and I had my attorney friend had to countersue them to get them to settle, just to get off of me before they started coming in and taking my paycheck and making things way worse. I had levy notices from the IRS for years. How did I get through all of that? Well, here's how. I finally decided, and I finally found an attorney after talking to many, and my buddy attorney wasn't a tax guy, so he didn't know this. But finally, I'm on the phone with one guy, and he goes, "Why don't you call this guy? He's an old lawyer. I mean, he's probably close to retirement, but he used to work at the IRS, and he knows a way out of this." And I'm like, "Okay, man. I mean, I'm never in my lifetime going to pay off that much money. It'll never happen. The penalties and interest that accumulate on a monthly and annually basis are so impossible for me to catch up with that I'm going to be $1 million. That 300 is going to turn to $1 million. And frankly, between you all and I, it was like 135,000 that escalated to 300,000 because of penalties, interest, and everything else. So I got creamed. And I called this attorney that he told me to call, named Kurt, and he said, there's a way out. If more than 50% of your debt, at that point I had negotiated almost all of my credit card debt away, and all I had hanging around my neck towards the end of this nightmare was that IRS stuff. Our kid was maybe 2 years old by then, and I had been still fighting with the IRS, and I had more attorneys working for me than I had friends. And this guy says, "You can go bankrupt. You can bankrupt out tax debt." And I'm like, "No way." I go, "That seems un-American to me. I mean, I served our country. I mean, I was in the Air Force. I mean, I'm a veteran. I mean, I don't want to take away. I mean, look, if they'll take the 135,000, I'll figure out how to pay that back." He goes, "They won't. They're gonna bury you. You're never gonna get out from underneath this. It's just gonna keep going. So you can BK this, and if you want to still send the money, you can. But you can BK it, and you're done." And I was like, "Okay, let me shut this off. Okay, let's see what happens." Hard to believe, but my income was still over the median household income. Bankruptcy laws had changed, so I didn't believe it, but he found a way. And I remember walking into that courtroom, head down, humiliated, hoping, again, no one will ever know that this happened or see me, even though it's a public record. My wife's with me at the time, and what do I see? I see my buddy Mike. A guy, Mike, that I grew up with. A guy that had thought that I had arrived and he didn't. And in bankruptcy court. And I'm like, "What are you doing here, dude?" On the lobby. And he goes, "I'm going bankrupt." And I'm like, "You're going bankrupt? You never spent any money. I mean, you're this kind of like the dude that I never thought, like, you're happy just living." And he goes, "No, man, I'm going down. By the way, I'm divorced and everything else." I'm like, "Holy crap." He goes, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, you know, I'm just looking for the Slim Jims, man. I'm looking for the snack bar. I'm kidding, dude. I'm going down in flames too. This is my wife. We're going upstairs. We're gonna declare bankruptcy. I declare bankruptcy.
I declare bankruptcy!
And then we're going to reset and start all over. And we did. And you can judge me in the comments all you want, but that was the only way out. Everybody else got paid. It came down to just that impossible to get out from underneath tax bill. We short sold the house right before it went to foreclosure, so I dodged a foreclosure and we got out of it. So here's the deal. There's stuff I'm leaving out, I'm sure. I'm sure I forgot some critical points, but the point I want to say is I'm not doing that again. I'm not. I'm going to make sure that my bills are so low that I can cut and run instantly if I have to. If things get stupid again, I can sell everything and run. I could pay the negatives to run, and I have enough cash and liquidity that I can boogie, and I could sit back and watch, and more importantly, take advantage. So here's the deal. Yes, we have a good amount of cash stashed away and investments that are, even though they're down, they're not, you know, catastrophically down. But our objective this time around, the one thing I wish I could have been in a position to do back in 07 and 08 when the market crashed, was to buy a bunch of houses and get wealthy. And one of my friends did do that. I couldn't, because I was fighting for my own life. But this time around, my wife and I were talking about this last night, we're going to use our cash to buy houses. And if I'm wrong, cool, but if this thing does crater prices on real estate, I'm buying some houses. I'm buying multiple houses, and I'm going to use that cash properly, strategically, to leverage the opportunities in the market, because as we know, in history, it'll come back. And the way I see it now is if I'm wrong, and this market does not crash, and this market continues to be, uncomfortable, but not horrible, and then it comes back really quickly, and I'm wrong, and I was conservative, and frankly, practiced humility, then I'm good, no harm, no foul. But if I don't act scared, if I don't act cautious, I screw up my daughter's ability to go to college, I screw up my ability to keep my sanity, I ruin my wife's life, and we're back standing in that bankruptcy court. I am not doing it. It's not going to happen. I've made prudent decisions. I'm cautious at this point, and I will not hang myself out there. So a good friend of mine, the same good friend of mine that gave me so much advice over the past years, told me once, he says, look, smart people don't make stupid decisions to appease stupid people. They don't. And thank goodness, 99% of you have been amazing in my last video. I mean, amazing comments. I mean, like almost 100%. There's like 2 or 3 people that just said stupid things. And those are the people that were really counting on me having that jailbreak so that they could watch a video and then watch me go down in flames a year from now. Not gonna happen. So I had to make the tough decision. But that's my story, and I'll do a follow-up to this if there's things I forgot, which there certainly is. And I admit my failures back then. What came out of it was an amazing, beautiful daughter, an incredible wife. So all that I went through, I wouldn't change it for a thing. What I definitely learned is that hubris is probably the most important quality a man or woman, anybody can have. Because if you get a ridiculous, excessive level of self-confidence, you will blow yourself up, and you will not think that the world can take you down. And just for spite, folks, it friggin' will. And I'm walking proof of that. So with that, everybody, hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little long. I'm gonna pull into this car meet now and meet the boys, and maybe show you a couple cars. So let's go do that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's go check out some cars real quick, and then I'll wrap this thing up. Let you borrow his car? All right, let's check out some cars. Check out the green RT next to the green Scat Pack. We've got the Mopar showing up today. Look at this thing. Wow. It's beautiful. Incredible. We got a gorgeous Charger right here, folks. Mustang, Porsche, and this is a pretty amazing car. Mercedes S550. Got some JDM in the house. And then we've got the glorious Viper. So this is Wings and Wheels, folks. Pretty cool event happens up here in Upland, California. So I'm gonna hang out with the guys, catch up. Oh, wait a minute, before we do, let's go check out this wide body Charger. Scat Pack. Look at these things. It looks beautiful. Oh, look at that hood. Very nice. All right, folks, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. It was a little bit long, but I told you I was gonna do it, and I did it. Not even sure if it's gonna get uploaded. If you're watching this right now, then it did get uploaded. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, stay motivated, make good decisions that are good for you and your family. Don't ever try to appease anyone other than yourself, your family, and remember hubris, always have it, because without it, absolute destruction is unavoidable. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.